Your office probably has its own language, phrases like circle back, synergy, let's get aligned. It may sound okay, might sound a little professional, may sound a little silly, but the problem with buzz phrases is they're empty. They don't really mean anything. They're usually a substitute for specifics that need to be said or a substitute for, even worse, decision making. But they're not harmless. They actually can send the wrong message, which is what this video is going to be about. Let's look at some common buzz phrases and talk about what they really mean and what you should say instead. Who needs to see this video? Send it to them. Let's circle back. The unintended message here, you don't want to deal with whatever's going on right now. Or you have wasted all the time in the meeting or the discussion, didn't achieve much, and you need to keep talking about it. So you say something like, let's circle back. What's better is to say something like, let's get together on Friday, right after lunch, and go over the presentation. I have to review the numbers, so let's meet after I do that, and then we'll make a decision. And then you can add in there who you want to meet with as well, instead of just saying to a group, shotgun blast, let's circle back. It is what it is. The unintended message you're sending here is, I've given up, and so should you. You're also telling the person or the audience that you have no control over the situation at all, and you're admitting that. What should you say instead? Say something like, there's aspects of it we can control, and there's aspects we cannot control. So let's focus on these three areas. Name them off. And that's a good message, because you're reinforcing that we're not going to dwell on the things that we have no control over. Say something like that instead of is what it is. Low-hanging fruit. What you're really saying here is what I'm asking you to do is not really that important. You could also be sending a signal that I don't trust you with the real work. Whatever you're talking about isn't worth real, hard, dedicated effort. So you can't really expect people to put their back into the work when you come at it like that. So say something like this instead. Let's tackle the easy stuff first. Let's update our client list, and that by that time, we'll be ready to move to the next phase. Nothing wrong with saying some things are easier than others, but low-hanging fruit, that's also in the eye of the beholder. It doesn't really say which is which. No more low-hanging fruit. Let's put a pin in it. This is something that I heard a lot, but I really didn't understand it and didn't ask. What you probably mean it to say is, let's hold off for now, but the message that you're sending is, we're dodging the issue. I'm not willing to make a decision right now, quite possibly because I have no idea what's going on. So say something like this. Let's talk about this on Thursday with the whole group. Let's get it added to the agenda. Now, whoever you're speaking to knows who's going to be involved, when we're going to talk about it, and then they can expect to have a decision at that point. But get rid of, let's put a pin in it. I'd be willing to bet that there's people that don't even know what it means. All right, we're going to move the needle. Well, you're probably not moving anything. You just don't know how to measure success. Let's move the needle says, let's just do something. And there's nothing people hate worse than having their time used for meaningless tasks. So say something like this. If we can make those improvements, we should increase revenue by 12% this next quarter. Or we need these 3 sales to go through for sure. And then name what they are. Or quality needs to come up 10 to 15% this year. But no more, let's move the needle. I want everybody thinking outside the box. What you're telling people is, I want creativity, I want thought here, but I don't have any ideas myself. Otherwise, you probably would have prompted them in a certain direction. So what's better is to put out an idea, even if you don't go with it. Something like, let's approach the client with a pilot program, feel them out, see if they like it. That's probably better at this point than a full rollout. Get rid of thinking outside the box. And what's the box anyway? This one here is probably one of the most common ones, bandwidth. When you or others use the word bandwidth, I don't have enough bandwidth, what they're saying really is, I don't want to commit. And how do you really know how much capacity or bandwidth you have anyway? If you can quantify it, fine. Most times we cannot. So what's better is to say, I can't get to that this week. I have 2 projects in front of it, something like that. I'll get to it next week. But bandwidth, when you hear it, you got to dive in, and you yourself get rid of bandwidth. Synergy. This one, actually, nobody knows what it is. And the message on this one is, you're trying to sound smart. That's what it sounds like. But you're also not being specific, which is like strike 2. What's better is something like, let's make sure we're all using the same data. Let's avoid duplication. So get rid of synergy unless you really explain what you're talking about there. Probably just get rid of it. Best practices. I've used this myself. But one way to think of the expression best practices is, I don't know if it's going to work. We've tried it before and it occasionally does work. Or somebody tried something, maybe they got lucky and it worked out. You can't really make that an SOP. Say something like this. Last quarter, we had a weekly meeting with all the stakeholders, and that seemed to really keep us on track. Or whatever specific resulted in success last time, let's incorporate that into the plan this time. Another way of thinking about best practices and substituting for that would be, what are our lessons learned? What is our quantifiable data on where we made mistakes? And then how soon are we going to turn those into SOPs or make it part of our process? But get rid of best practices. Let's get a touch base on the schedule. This is a real common one these days, hear it a lot. But by using the expression touch base, what you're saying is, I don't know what we need to talk about, or maybe even when, let's just get together. And again, when you are signaling to people that you're going to waste their time, you're going to have a problem with morale at some point. What's better is to be specific about when you want to meet with somebody. Tomorrow at 1, let's get together, 15 minutes. We'll decide on A, B, and C, and then we'll talk to our client. Touch base, gotta go. Delete. Value add. I'm trying to justify what I'm saying here without any real proof or data. That's what that sounds like. So what sounds better really is any specific piece of data. If we do this, it's going to save 20 minutes per order. It's going to save us 320 units per year or something like that. A lot of times, even one data point can really persuade people a lot better than saying something like value add. That's nothing. Maybe you mean it to mean something like we're going to do a little better. Well, quantify it. But value add, get rid of that one too. Going forward. I almost used that one a little bit ago in this video. You may be saying something important that you want to do more of in the future, but by using the expression going forward, you're being vague. When are we going to do something different? So say something like this. Starting with the next client report, let's include at least 3 bullets on what their concerns are and give them an update on when is the action going to take place. But get rid of going forward. You could actually say something as easy as starting tomorrow and then say the same thing. We're in alignment. You hear this one, somebody that is running a discussion is going to say we're in alignment, or are we in alignment? And what are people going to say? You can't tell somebody you're in alignment. And being aligned is actually very difficult. It takes a lot of time, a lot of repetition. And most times we're overestimating that we are in agreement or have the same understanding. So the unintended message is we're all chatting about something, but in reality, nobody really understands what we agree on. So say something like this. So you agree that we can go from 90 to 95% on time this year? Ask somebody if they agree. Ask somebody if they're going to commit to whatever the topic is. But the next time you hear in alignment, you got to dive in and you got to make sure people do understand each other. Probably better to just get rid of in alignment. We're in alignment altogether. This is win-win. Few things really are win-win. You're saying that everybody's going to be happy, and that usually is not the case. Does not happen. Well, it can happen at times. The message here that you got to ask yourself is, how do you know it's win-win? How do you know everybody is going to benefit? You don't, probably. So say something like this. Vendor cuts costs, we get a better lead time, we ship faster. Both sides benefit. But win-win by itself asks people to trust what you're about to say without probably any real evidence for you to say it in the first place. Circle the wagons. The message here is we're about to panic and let's defend ourselves. Actually, the expression circle the wagons comes from the settlers moving west in their wagon trains. When they thought they were going to be attacked, they'd put them in a circle so they had a stronger defense. Now, you may have a situation that requires defensive measures, but it's a bad reflection on you as the leader. Instead of attacking the situation to solve a problem, you're going to huddle up and protect yourself. And people don't want to see that from you. So say something like this instead. 9 o'clock tomorrow, I want everybody in this room. We're going to go through this and we're going to figure out 3 ways potentially we could solve the problem. Or this probably is a situation where you need to escalate, maybe get some more support for the team. I'll talk to Tom in the morning. Tom being somebody that has a lot of influence or authority. But circle the wagons just makes you look weak. This one's a game changer. This one, when you use the expression game changer, this makes it sound like you're trying to sell me something. I'm really excited about something, or I'm holding my breath, hoping that everybody's going to embrace it because I need buy-in. And you want to be aware of sports analogies too, because not everybody plays sports. Let's move the chains. I actually used that one last week, I think. But instead of saying this is a game changer, use the specifics of the situation that you're implementing. If we can do this, if we can reduce the churn, the client's going to get a 30% faster lead time. Game changer. It's got to go. What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to raise the bar. I'm not sure where the word bar comes in here, of the origin of the expression, like pull-up bar. I don't know what the bar is. But your unintended message here is, we got to improve. I have no idea how much. And I probably have no idea on how to measure that. Or even if you do know, you're not saying it, so you're not willing to define it. But you have to define it. You have to say something like this. From now on, our on-time delivery goal is 97%, up from 90. We can do better. That's probably what you mean by something like raise the bar. But raise the bar, gotta go. And this is probably my favorite. Let's get aggressive. Your unintended message here is you want a different result, but you don't know how you're going to do that. And you're asking people to probably stick their necks out and do things they wouldn't normally do, which is going to raise the question, will you have their back? Let's get aggressive. How do you explain to somebody they weren't aggressive in their evaluation? You can't do it. If you say something like you weren't aggressive enough and you don't have something to back that up substantial, you're going to irritate people. You're going to make them mad. So instead of saying something like, let's get aggressive, let's say we're going to lower our margins by 10% to increase sales. And you want to assure people that you're behind them and you got them. Lower the margin by 10%. Check with me if you want. Keep me posted. I got this. But just saying, let's get aggressive, you can't do that. You got to get rid of it. It's insulting. So buzzwords sound innocent enough, but they're empty of meaning. And it may be convenient for you to use these expressions, but people walk away confused, frustrated, or maybe even mad. I had a retired general that was teaching a class at the staff college that I went to, and he said, strip out all of the adjectives and adverbs when you're speaking. Use nouns and verbs. If you think about it, that's really what buzz phrases are. There are a lot of adjectives and maybe adverbs, but there are a lot of unnecessary modifiers that really what they do is they subtract meaning away from what you really intend to say. They got the adverbs and the adjectives. And if you want to stand out, realize that you don't have to be a real elaborate speaker. You don't have to speak long. In fact, you should not do that. You should condense what you're trying to say and really be very pointed with just those action verbs of who's doing what, by when, and what result do we expect from that. Of course, make sure people understand why they're doing things. Drama, the noise is just going to dilute what you're really trying to get across. If this message resonated with you, or you need a coach, or your organization does, communication is just one aspect of being a leader. This channel has got a lot of videos just like this, no fluff, straight talk, things that we tend to maybe overlook and that don't get taught necessarily in leadership courses. Get a hold of me anytime. My information is at the end of this video. Thanks.